Welcome to Your Media Podcast, Episode 3. Today we're joined by Joshua Ball from Vanity Studios.
What's happening, guys?
What's up, man?
Glad to be here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I know, we actually just met Josh. He was our number one fan. Probably our only fan.
That's
liking
right.
all our stuff.
Like LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it.
Our one fan and our number one fan.
Yeah. He is the fan. So we, you want to tell the story of how we ended up finding out about you and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Oh, me, yeah.
Sure, why not? One of us can do it.
Yeah, so my 16-year-old stepson comes home one day, and he tells us that, hey, there's two guys that came down, and they were taking video of me fishing. And the first question I asked is, well, did they ask you first? And he said, yeah, they asked me. They get my permission, and they were taking my video, and he comes home and he tells me this, and the first thing I said is, two guys, huh? And I was just kind of aware of you guys. You know, your videos have just been amazing and just hitting the scene hard, and I love it all. I am the number one fan. But so he tells me two guys come and they take my video, and I'm like, oh, was it by chance Your Media people? And he goes, yes, that's it. Because at first he had no idea. He couldn't remember. You know, he's 16.
Right, yeah. So small world. So then just by, then Josh starts liking our stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, who's this Josh guy? And turns out he's in the same building as us, like 3-4 doors down.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
we're neighbors.
Neighbors.
We're officially neighbors.
The country charm. Yeah.
Right here in the middle of Perrysburg, Ohio.
Yeah. Represent.
Number one place to raise a family.
And it took a couple days to get you in here. We had to reschedule.
That's right. That's right.
We're glad it happened.
I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah, we did.
One way or another, we're going to make it happen, right?
All right. Josh, take me back. Take me back to the beginning. To the very beginning.
The very beginning
of your whole photography
So,
thing.
My very first camera actually was some plastic Fujifilm camera that my brother bought me on my graduating day of high school. I remember we went to the Andersons. I had my cap and gown on still, walking through there thinking I was cool. And he bought me a camera. And like for the next 2 years, I just shot random stuff with it, mostly hanging out with friends, camping, that whole thing as a teenager. But I really kind of stopped shooting, and I didn't pick it up again until really my mid to late 20s. So what I first started doing is I bought a Canon camcorder, and I was at the local clubs and bars, and specifically we were at Pub St. George, and we'd make these little fun club videos, use them for promotional purposes on social media. I mean, it was really the beginning of Facebook. Actually, MySpace was still a thing back then, so
yeah,
that dates it a little bit. But
I remember MySpace.
Right, so we started making these club videos, and that was fun, and that was kind of cool, and I was like, for whatever reason, I was like, you know what, I want to try claymation of all things, right? So the claymation, you need a still camera, and I did one with a point and shoot, and it turned out okay, but saw a deal for a camera online, right, a DSLR. It was a Rebel XSI. Yeah, I know you guys are.
Oh, the Canon Rebel.
That's right. That's right.
Boy,
that's
memories.
In many ways, the Rebel is just as good as some of those upper level, upper tier cameras. So, but I bought the Rebel. I took it home. I made some stop motion, and like 2 days after I bought that camera, a website had just started. It was called flashtoledo.com. And it was really a group of 5 or 6 guys, and we were going out to clubs and bars and just photographing people. Which is really an interesting environment because it's really low light, but you got a lot of colors and typically a lot of lasers and things like that. So if you're using a flash, you can do some shutter dragging and some other, techniques to kind of create some cool photos and shoot on a fisheye lens to get really exaggerated shots. So that was like my first step into like creative shooting. So
you were doing candid though. Isn't that hard? I think candid video is difficult.
It was very hard. Actually, one of the hardest things for me was approaching, 200, 300 people a night and asking to take their photograph. Not all of them say yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Some people are like get belligerent and like absolutely not.
Not everybody's as nice as your boy when he's fishing. Yeah.
He's like, sure, I don't care.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And some people are there with people that they're not supposed to be there with, right? So they don't want any photographic evidence of any of that going on. So. So that website just, it started up, and I got involved in that, and we were going out and shooting, and it was, mostly bar tabs is how they would pay a lot of the time. So you go out and hang out with friends and, have a good time and take some photos. So in 2009, or maybe, I think it was 2010. In 2010, I was shooting at Metropolis. I was a house photographer, and that's at it's at where Kobe Bay is now, on the docks. And shooting down there, I've been doing it for about four or 5 months, and a real pretty girl walks up to me and asked me if she's working on her makeup portfolio, and she needed a new photographer to kind of help her start to build that. So she approaches me and she asked me, well, how much will you charge to take my photos? Pretty girl in the club. I had just bought some strobe lights for the first time, so I had just got the equipment, but I had never used it. And I said, well, what the heck, I'll do it for free. And so that pretty girl was Kristina, and 10 years later, here we are, Vanity Studios, makeup and photography. So that's really been kind of the journey thus far.
And we met Kristina the other day, too, when we met Josh.
Yeah. We need to figure out how to get this fourth mic working. It's the camera situation. Like, I don't want to break out the red yet for the podcast, so we maybe have to get like another Sony or something.
It's kind of like killing a mosquito with a bazooka, isn't it?
Yeah. And you don't want to put hours on it because, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Do you still have that first camera?
I do. It's at the so we've got a camera wall at the studio, and it's in the very center of that camera wall.
How many cameras you got on that wall? It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's over 100, and I probably have another 25 at home that still need to go in. But a lot of them are just film cameras that I'm playing around with and shooting right now. So I'm not ready to put them on the wall yet.
That's awesome, man.
Do you get them from the Antique Mall or online, or where do you get them?
I have got a few from the Antique Mall, but the majority of my collection is either eBay or just kind of private sales. So, I bought them off of Facebook Marketplace. I've had friends that discover cameras in garages and, come and sell them. Or I've had people just give cameras to me as well. And I've even hit up like Goodwill and some of those places as well. Every now and then you can find a gem. Yeah,
for sure. We have two. We have like an old Polaroid.
Okay.
And then we have a old film camera. I think it's a Kodak. Looks like the Zapruder camera.
Yeah,
it's like one of those.
It would have been right around that time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Those like cameras from that era are so cool. I mean, they're really a work of art within themselves. Just the mechanics of it, the engineering that goes into making all that stuff happen is amazing.
Yeah.
I know I want to talk about film. Josh has been shooting on film and experimenting with that. And I think film and vinyl and all the original mediums for audio, video, or photography are just. It's interesting because it's almost like they got it right. People are going back, and it's always like, I think film looks the best still.
I love it.
In some ways.
It's grain. It's all about that grain because, with cameras now, you can't really reproduce that grain. You've got noise, right? As you boost your ISO, you've got a noisier image, but that true camera grain, which is really funny because, in the digital world, like you do everything you can not to get any of that noise or grain, right? Like you don't want that at all. But in film, it's like what actually sells it. And I think one of the most beautiful parts of it and the fact that, this emulsion on this paper is exposed in a certain way to light and that actually comes out. And the grain is actually what shows the detail. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's funny because we use an expensive plug-in to get rid of the noise.
Yeah.
And then another expensive plug-in to emulate film grain. So
he's not wrong. We really do. We really do.
Right, yeah. And that's crazy now. Like, we've reached a point where we're so digitally plugged in that there's all of these other plugins and bolt-ons to achieve these older looks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like, what else could you do? If you shot on an actual film camera, you would have to have that developed and then digitized to be able to display it anywhere other than on the wall on a projector. So.
Yeah, it's weird how it's there's definitely, especially in our world, when I say film. In the video world, there's definitely time, and I'd say most of the time, where people don't want grain.
Yeah.
But when you're doing like a film,
right,
like a nice documentary or a narrative, like I want that film. I want that film, Josh.
Yeah,
that grain. I want that grain.
Is it nostalgia? It's like it doesn't look real, right? So is it like this dream-like thing? Like, what is it that's appealing about it? You can't describe it.
It's just so warm and nostalgic, and I think.
Like texture, it's really just texture.
It's the texture.
It's not so clean.
Yeah, and then I would love to get anamorphic lenses.
Okay,
but they're like $30,000.
Right,
they're really expensive.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about
it. Almost like spherical lenses. For those who don't know, spherical lenses are what we're shooting on here. It's what most of you are shooting on. They're spherical and they shoot 16:9. Anamorphic lenses were made in the 60s, back when the aspect ratio was 3:4, so you'd have a square. and then they would capture a wide image and then squish it down onto that square, and then when they were editing it, they could stretch it out, and that's how widescreen was really born. And they make lenses now that still do that, and while it's technically like worse, because I mean you're stretching the image, it like feels better. Right. Like when I had film grade, I always say we make it feel a little bit better by making it look a little worse.
Right.
You know,
life isn't perfect. It's messy. It's full of imperfections, and like really, that's what film is. You know, and that's just a good metaphor for it.
Yeah.
Same thing with vinyl. Like you crave that like vinyl.
That popping.
Yeah, that popping. Yeah, because it's I don't know. It's like it's. Well, it's human, I guess.
So the crazy thing is that 2019 was the first year that film sales have been up since the digital revolution. So you know, we all really learned to shoot digitally, but for some reason, film sales are actually up. And I read into that a little bit, and it's kind of what you're saying with the vinyl is that you have this now 2 generations that have grown up in a digital world that really didn't have analog, and now it's cool, it's trendy, it's back to the basics, and I think that the fact that younger people are embracing that is really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yep.
Because who knows where that's going to go, you know?
Yeah, well, I think the same thing about music in a lot of ways. Like him and I have talked about it. You know, if you go back 200 years, if you want to listen to music, you'd go to the symphony, and to be a musician took a lot of work.
Right.
You know, you had to spend your whole life doing it. Then rock and roll came out, and rock and roll was a little bit simpler. Still not easy to play, but compared to like the classical thing of 100 years before,
right,
a lot easier. And then HipHop came out, and the musician it was a poet. It wasn't a person making the music.
Absolutely.
And it's gotten to a point now where it's been taken so far to the extreme where people just buy a beat on SoundCloud, they put on auto-tune, they grab their nuts and say whatever they want to say on the auto-tune, and then that's their song. And I feel like there might be a point where people kind of yearn for that time where they're going to want music that's a little bit more difficult to digest and not so basic.
For sure.
I think.
Because if it's easy, everyone's going to do it. And
well, yeah, and everyone is doing it now.
And to your point, like, is that art? Is that person an artist if they're really doing that? I mean, if they're just, you know, pulling the loops and auto tuning and doing all that. I mean, I guess, but
right. But then I think like we're when I love punk rock. That was the first music I fell in love with. I love punk rock.
You're talking my language now.
Yeah. So, you know, the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, I mean...
so you're talking 70s punk, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I love, like, everything from that to Green Day, and Blink-182 was, like, my favorite band growing up.
Funny story, first live concert I ever went to was Blink-182, and I couldn't find anybody to go with me. So I, like, bought a ticket for my buddy, and I was like, dude, you know, come. And, you know, he had a good time, but it was my first concert.
What year?
How were they?
They were good. They were really good. Yeah. You know, Travis Barker's insane. He was like strapped into his drum set, and like it started like rotating like this. So he was like playing while doing that. It was a lot of fun. But it was the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket tour. So
nice.
What was that? Maybe 03?
2001 that album came out.
01? Okay.
Yeah. That's man.
When that led me into, you know, finding other bands like NoFX and Rancid, which are my personal favorite bands of all time.
Dude, Rancid. Oh my God.
Yes.
I didn't know this about Josh. And Out Come the Wolves. Indestructible.
25 years this year, Out Come the Wolves.
So good.
Unbelievable. Indestructible, also a really good one.
I know a lot of hardcore Rancid fans. And Alex, I know this is like over your head, but a lot of hardcore Rancid fans like don't like that album, or they think it's like them selling out.
What, the Out Come the Wolves?
No.
Indestructible. Yeah.
God, that album is so good.
It was good. It was like my anthem of that summer too, dude. That was an awesome album. And I used to rock a foot tall mohawk.
Really?
Yeah, I did. So
is that where Christine fell in love with you? You know?
Yeah. No, I didn't have it then. I had some lame Justin Bieber cut going on, you know, then. But yeah, I used to have a foot tall mohawk, and the cover of that album is Lars Fredriksen's head just there front and center, and I loved it. But and you know, and that led me into other bands like really Flogging Molly and Dropkick Murphys and the Real Mackenzies, and I really got into like that Celtic punk sound as well. So.
Yeah. Flogging Molly's good. I like that.
Yeah.
He's heard of them, you know.
I know some of those.
Well, they haven't had an album in like 3 years now, so you guys need to get on that, Flogging Molly.
It's so nice to meet a Rancid fan because I feel like they're forgotten. Like in the Green Day, Blink-182, like Rancid, dude, is so good.
Yeah, and their last couple albums have been a little meh for me.
Better than Blink's recent albums. In my opinion.
Well, losing Tom DeLonge, you lose half the band, I guess, you know? So
He just doesn't try hard live. If you watch videos of him live,
Tom DeLonge,
and I love Tom DeLonge. So if you're watching this, no offense, Tom, but like,
good. Thank you for all the alien stuff, Tom.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, Tom. But like whenever I watch him live, I actually saw them live with Matt Skiba.
Oh,
in
really?
Columbus. Yeah, it was. Oh man, we were in the pit, me and my buddy David, and like it was just. Oh, it was great.
Is he the dude from Alkaline Trio?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's their new guitar player.
Right.
I feel like Tom will come back.
I used to like
eventually.
Alkaline Trio. They were a good one.
Yeah, they're in the same vein. Anyways, getting back to it, getting back off of that tangent. Yes. I think like I feel when I'm like, oh, music these days, like they're not doing anything. That's kind of how people looked at punk rock when it first started. So it's like, true in a way, them taking all the piss out of it and just like throwing autotune on in a way, and like its spirit is kind of punk rock,
right?
Minimalist, and like, why do I have to overcomplicate it?
Fat Mike from NoFX has a famous saying that sloppiness counts.
Sure.
Do it on one take. Sloppiness counts.
Yes.
I almost see the same trend going, like in the 80s, it got very overproduced music.
Yeah.
And then that like spawned like Nirvana.
You're right.
And the Seattle movement and stuff. So
you're absolutely
it's kind of getting
right.
there again. So it's probably going to go back to just.
I never thought about it like that. 80s really got into like that synth pop and that are these really instruments kind of a sound? And you're right that we're kind of approaching that again. So it would be interesting to see that flip. But there's even bands out there that like have really championed that 70s sound that are new, that are really cool. I think that they're kind of going back and
Greta Van Fleet.
Exactly.
That's a little too on the nose for me. I mean, it's like such a Led Zeppelin thing. Like, geez.
Right, yeah. But the fact that someone is still out there kind of making that sound or at least trying to emulate it is pretty cool.
Oh, for sure.
He's like a big fan of the Black Keys.
I was just going to say, you like the Black Keys?
Yeah, like a couple songs for sure. Yeah, it's like, it's chill. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the right word for it. But
it's blues.
Yeah. And I like a good just listening. I don't get me wrong. I like my political punk rock, and especially
Oh, you like love the War on Errorism,
War on Errorism, amazing album. Actually,
American Idiot?
American Idiot is a good one. Yep. American Idiot, I think I played it so much that I can't listen to it anymore. Right?
I've done that on a couple albums for sure. Yeah.
That one, I remember I had the CD and I played it for the whole summer. But War on Errorism, I just actually listened to recently just because it's pertinent again.
Sure. Yeah. I never got like super into NoFX. I bought a couple of their greatest hits albums. Like I love Dinosaurs Will Die.
Yeah. It's about the music industry. Yeah. How do you interpret that? Is it like, I've always interpreted that to be more about independent labels and like, when that came out was like really when the MP3 thing was happening.
Yeah.
And so I've always interpreted that they were basically like heralding the fact that everything that they knew in that industry was dying. The dinosaurs were dying, and it was something new and different was coming out of it.
Yeah, I always took it like that, and I think that's how he explained it. But yeah, they got some bangers for sure.
Yeah.
I like the quote about humanness counts because, as I said, him and I had a band. We have a lot of experience recording music. And growing up, I would record on it was digital, but it was like basically analog. Like it was an 8-track thing. You'd have to hit play record. If you didn't like it, you'd have to like play record and record silence over it. That's how it was. So growing up, it was always like, I think for you and I was always chasing like perfection, like get the perfect mix and all that.
Yeah.
And then I finally I went to a studio and we did some albums and it was great. But then like after you kind of get that, I listened to the Beatles and I listened to Led Zeppelin and like there's parts where Paul McCartney's flat or like the drums off time, but those human imperfections is what makes music beautiful to me.
Absolutely, yes.
You know what I mean?
And that is what the art is. Like there is no perfection in any of it, and nothing is ever fully done. It's just completed. It's left. Like
right.
This is where we're going to leave it at this point, and I'm not going to touch it again. And then you're right. It's those imperfections that make it human.
Yeah, I think the more you use technology to make it perfect, the more humanity you strip out of it.
Totally.
It's kind of like just like taking off the noise and putting on the grain.
Yeah.
Like, well, if we do like digital music, we quantize it and then like humanize it.
We've done that. We've done that on the digital thing. It's like, if I'm playing a drum beat on a keyboard or something, it's a little too human. It's a little too imperfect. So I'm gonna make it perfect and then make it imperfect.
Yeah,
that's.
That says something about the creative process, though, doesn't it? Like, you actually are striving to get it perfect and then bring it back to something that's not like.
And that makes it more perfect.
Yeah.
In turn.
Right?
Yeah.
And it makes it more you. Mm-hmm. Right? It makes it more yours.
It's got personality.
Yeah,
we're
totally.
making it more human.
Right.
Yeah, I just got it. Are you a Beatles fan?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I like the Beatles. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always been a fan. I just recently like went through their whole discography and like.
That wasn't short. It probably took some time to go through all of that.
Well, that's the other thing too. You got to listen. I've listened to like all the albums so many times, and they're just all so good.
Yeah,
and so ahead of their time.
They really were, and political, and saying things that other people weren't saying, and changing. You know?
Yes,
that's the thing. Is like how many different sounds did they have? I mean, they evolved as a band, and then they evolved individually as well, but it wasn't the same sound.
Oh no, not at all. Like
No.
Rubber Soul blew people's minds. Like, what the hell is this? This isn't poppy. I mean, it kind of is, but
Was it the Yellow Submarine? Was like the really trippy album, right? Like that's where the drugs started to take hold, probably.
Sergeant Pepper's probably.
Oh, yeah,
Or-
okay.
as well.
Or even before that though.
Yeah.
I think they smoked pot with Bob Dylan like around the Rubber Soul years. And
That's awesome.
I know it worked out for them.
Right.
I mean, they put out some beautiful music, and yeah, it's very timeless. Like
Yeah.
a lot of '80s music, I love it, but when I listen to it, I'm very aware that it's the '80s.
Yeah.
The Beatles, it's like it feels timeless to me in a way.
John Lennon stuff, before his death, and a lot of what they were doing towards peace and harmony. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't really see that much anymore, unfortunately. It's what's going to sell.
What's your opinion on Yoko Ono?
Whether or not she split up the Beatles,
Just, I guess, in general.
she seems a little batshit crazy to me, but
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know enough about her to really have an opinion.
Have you seen the video of her screaming?
No.
Oh man! Anyone watching? Pause the video, open up a new tab on your browser, type in Yoko Ono screaming, watch it, and then leave something in the comments. Tell us what you think.
Have you seen
no,
the
I
one?
didn't do that.
Have you seen the one where Chuck Berry and John Lennon are performing, and she's like playing like the tambourine, and she just starts her like screaming thing right in the middle of the song, dude?
No.
Chuck Berry's song, bro. His face is just priceless, dude. And John Lennon doesn't blink an eye, dude. He's like acts like it's not even happening.
Yeah, he's like, that's what she does.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
So funny, dude.
I'm not familiar with that. Now I have to look it up.
Have you ever heard the song "God" by John Lennon?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's so good. He's like, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in kings. I don't believe in Superman. I don't believe in Elvis. And he goes on for like 2 minutes of like everything he doesn't believe in. And then he's like, I don't believe in Beatles. And like the music stops. And then he's just like, I just believe in me. And it's just like,
Yeah.
And then he says Yoko and me right after. And he's like,
Which ruins the song.
yeah.
it just kind of ruins the song a little
It's a
bit.
good
like,
song up until that
Oh,
point.
it's still a beautiful
No,
song. It's still super
No, I love
good.
that song.
Yeah. No, John Lennon's solo stuff I think was better than Paul McCartney's.
I would agree from what I've heard for sure. What something Eagles were like?
No, the
Wings.
Wings. That was it. Yeah. So that was his band.
Yeah.
Right. Paul's band.
Yeah.
He had a couple of songs, but it was John Lennon almost like stripped back production. I feel like Paul McCartney's first album with Wings though was pretty stripped down.
Paul was like the front man, but John was really the soul, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
was obviously the guy behind the really meaningful songs. You
Well,
know?
Sure. Yeah, Paul had some really good ones though.
Yeah.
Man. Seriously, like I know what I went through the discography. Like damn.
What about Ringo? Nobody ever gives Ringo.
I know. I actually the
Octopus's Garden is a great song.
Yeah.
Honestly. He wrote and sang it.
Another thing about that a lot of people probably don't realize about the Beatles. What does, aside from the fact that they're hits, what does I Want to Hold Your Hand, She Loves You, Hey Jude, there's a couple more. What do those three songs all have in common?
They're all about love.
They were never on a record.
Oh,
A lot of their biggest songs were just singles, and they never put them out like on an actual release.
really?
Yeah, Hey Jude's not on an album.
Oh, you mean they didn't put one song and then 13 crappy ones to try
No.
and sell the album?
No, I mean like with the Beatles,
Yeah, that's cool.
you would think that they would have put that on there, but they didn't.
It's just a
weird.
single. That's
Yeah.
cool because it lives within itself. It's not part of that greater anthem, right?
Yeah, and listening back, I mean, She Loves You and I Want to Hold Your Hand, I think could be on their early releases. But
Yeah.
like Hey Jude, I can't think of like what album that would fit on. Maybe the White Album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always approach an album as like you have to listen to it in its entirety because it is the story, right? So
Right.
like you got to listen to it from beginning to end. So for me, back in the day, you go to Best Buy and get a CD and open that up.
Always
and
hard to open.
The smell of the plastic and everything, and then you put it in, and it was just drive around for hours and listen to the album. Like from beginning to end a couple times to really get a feel for it. That was always like what I did.
Yeah, that's something we've kind of lost in the music industry. Although it's like the Beatles almost kind of started that.
Yeah.
So before that, it was just a bunch of singles put on a thing, or one good single put on, like what you just said, with a bunch of shitty songs. But like Kendrick is doing albums now. There's people doing them now.
Yeah, I know for sure. And I don't listen to enough pop music that's coming out today to really pass judgment on it. Yeah. But no, Kendrick's definitely one of the best artists, like currently going. But again, I'm waiting. Are you a fan of Kendrick Lamar?
No.
Do you like hip hop much or no?
I do. I like old. So, Wu-Tang was my jam, dude. So I was a fan in '93. I remember seeing their video on the box. That'll date me a little bit. On a black and white TV that I had in my room, and I was hooked. So I was a Wu-Tang fan still am. Mostly East Coast, but definitely Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Biggie. Yes. Definitely got into some of the Southern stuff. Huge Outkast fan. Goody Mob. Wasn't so into like Master P and some of that, but even some of the West Coast stuff, some of the stuff that Snoop was putting out during Death Row, and even Warren G. Huge hip hop fan, but from a certain era, right?
Right, so I'm with you.
I think it was like '01 is that Blink concert was the first time I ever really got into something that wasn't hip hop, and it just spoke to me in a way that the hip hop wasn't at that time. Just being a broody teenager, or I guess early 20s or whatever it was, just figuring out the way. So about that point, I switched off from hip hop and started listening to more punk.
So Blink-182 got you into punk.
So weird, right? Yeah. Like, of all things.
I know, and anyone who's like a elitist punk head
will say, that's pop. That's pop.
Yeah, no, I could see it. Punk, I think, I have a friend, David, who is like very into punk rock. And he'll learn me some stuff, he'll talk to me about it. I think punk really comes down, it's less about the sound, and it's more about just the way that the band is.
Yeah.
Blink-182 is very much about the money, whereas Rancid's not.
No.
And that makes Rancid really punk rock.
That they are super punk rock. Everything is DIY. I mean, it's their own labels, they put out their own artwork, like everything is self-produced. And
does the guy from Minor Threat live in Toledo?
I don't know.
I've heard that. I forget his name though. Jeff, I think, something.
I don't know. I once heard that the bassist from Weezer was from Toledo. Is there any truth?
I think I heard that. I know
the old
River
bassist
Cuomo is not.
No,
Weezer's good, dude.
He quit the band to get a doctorate at Harvard. I think something crazy like that.
No. That's not right. That's not right. Because I got into the Weezer Blue album recently, and I read the notes. No, I think he dropped out of Harvard. He was at Harvard for like a year or something, and then he dropped out.
Yeah.
And then when they made the Blue album,
well, he can probably find income in other ways.
Oh yeah, but no, the Blue album has no reverb. When they were recording it at Electric Lady, they're like no reverb and it has to be all downstrokes on the guitar. So that when you listen to it, that's a big reason why it has that sound.
Interesting.
It's a good sound though.
Only the Blue album,
as far as I know.
That was their first, right?
Yeah, and that's like their best.
And then Pinkerton was the second one. Most people don't know that.
That's
album.
true. A lot of people don't like that.
There's some jams on that because it was a little more indie, a little more raw, I think, than their first one. And then it was the Green album, right? After that.
Yeah, they did a bunch of colors. Just going down the rainbow.
And then it got poppy.
Right, yeah. You mentioned Mobb Deep, and I think a lot of people who are into the East Coast hip hop, if you're into Biggie, if you're into even Jay-Z, check out Mobb Deep, man.
Yeah.
I love like the Infamous.
Right?
Bro.
Yes.
Cradle from the Grave.
Yes.
Cradle to the Grave.
I think one of the guys passed, I believe.
Yeah. It was Prodigy from All right, he had sickle cell syndrome.
Okay.
And so when he died, they like played off that, like, he died from sickle cell syndrome, but the mask was taken off, and apparently I think he choked on like a chicken wing. Oh no. Or he choked in the hospital. Wow. That's how he died, which is really sad. I'm not thinking that's funny, but yeah.
Right. He pulled a Mama Cass.
Yeah, Mama Cass. Exactly. That's how she went.
Dude, have you ever choked before?
Like, yeah.
Like where you can't breathe?
Yeah.
I mean,
briefly.
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm still here. So. Have you ever had someone have to give you the Heimlich?
No.
Dude, I've had that happen.
Really?
Yeah, I was eating a chicken nugget from Wendy's. It's like 2002.
No bones in that.
I'm sitting there talking to my mom, and I'm eating it, and then I can't breathe, and I'm like, my mom's like jumps up and gets behind me and does it. Wow. And then you sit there and think like, holy shit, if I was alone, or driving or something, like,
That's it.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling, not being able to breathe.
Oh, it's like, it's very, because the timer's on. It's like you're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's panic, right? It's instant panic because what are you gonna do?
Well, and it's just like that'd be such a terrible way to die. Like not like it would be terrible. Like drowning would be terrible.
Yeah,
in
I
that
think
way.
that's probably one of the worst. Right?
But it's also just like embarrassing. Like, oh, how did Josh die? Like, oh, he choked eating steak. He was watching Seinfeld and he laughed too hard and it got stuck in his throat and he died.
That's not as bad as what's his name, David Carradine. Is that his name? The guy from Kung Fu.
Yeah, how'd he die again?
He was, I think he was getting a little freaky and he accidentally hung himself.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yep.
I've heard of
Not
that.
to laugh at that, but
Isn't that a show, 1,000 Ways to Die,
yes,
where they talk about weird ways that people die?
yeah. Anyway,
wasn't there a basketball player somewhat recently that like he took a bunch of Viagra and then cocaine and had a heart attack? He was either I don't know. I'm not a sports fan.
yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a bad
No,
night.
that sounds like an embarrassing way to die too.
Yeah, there's like,
I mean, yeah.
you think about death a lot?
Boy, that's a heavy question. I think about it more the older I get.
Sure.
You know, people always say like, oh, the older you get, you more realize that you're not invincible, and you're like, whatever. But yeah, it's actually true. The older you get, you're like, oh, shit, I really could have just hurt myself. Like, you know, your scenario with the choking, it's like, what if you were alone? And then you start thinking about that, like, yeah, we're just really bags of water and organs, man, and it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, I've been. I still need to get a helmet for my skateboard. I bought an electronic skateboard, and it's awesome. It goes like 30. I've gotten up to 29 miles an hour, so basically 30 miles an hour, and like it's really cool, and I feel very comfortable on it. But I know every time I ride it, I'm rolling the dice.
Right.
Because eventually,
Something's
gonna happen.
My parents both ride e-bikes, and they don't wear their helmets, and they should. Mom and Dad, you guys should be wearing your helmets, but they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know people that have died very young just from freak accidents.
Right. A head injury.
Yeah,
That's all
man.
it takes,
You hit your head just right, like that's it.
We are very fragile. That's makes life all the more meaningful, right?
Yeah, death. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It is amazing the human body though how like much it can replenish itself.
It is resilient. Yeah, absolutely. Especially the younger you are, like little kids, like you'll see them take tumbles or shit happens. You're like, oh my god, and they just bounce right back up. And you're like, all right, okay, we're good to go.
Yeah. I used to skateboard growing up, and like, I could fall and get really hurt, but not really. I wouldn't be really hurt, but if I did that now. I actually got back into skateboarding a few years ago, and if I would fall like on my ass really hard, like it was a week of, it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you just jump up like whatever.
I got back on a skateboard for the first time in probably 20 years, and I gave a film camera to Kristina, and I said, all right, I'm gonna do an ollie, take my picture while I do it or whatever. I don't know what I was thinking. I've never done an ollie in my life. So I'm in the driveway, and like one of the kids is there, and I'm like, all right, here I go, and I like go to pop it, and just straight on the ground.
Yeah.
Elbow and hip, right on the ground.
How long were you in pain for?
A couple hours actually. My elbow really hurt. I was like worried at some point I had chipped it or broken it, but it was just scuffed up. I survived it, but it, instantly it was like, you idiot. I couldn't have done it when I was young. Why would I do it now?
Right, yeah. you don't get more coordinated with age.
No.
And so the bad thing about film is I still haven't seen that picture because I haven't developed the whole roll yet. So. I don't know if it's worth it yet.
Do you have to wait until you go through the whole roll?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was on a special camera that's got 4 lenses on it, and so it takes 4 shots at the same time. So there's a little additional post-processing there that goes on.
So you'll put it up on Instagram probably if it's good?
Yeah, if it's good. Even if it's bad, maybe I'll put it up. Why not? Yeah.
I'm only 30 and I'm already starting to notice like it's easier to get aches and pains and they last longer.
Right.
Like you just turn the wrong way, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes just waking up in the morning and it's just like, man, what is
exactly,
why does that hurt?
Yeah. I do that. I've been doing that like every month. Once a month I'll wake up and my back will kill me and then it'll hurt for 3 days.
Right. I have back issues like that too, where then it's you don't realize how much you use your back until it's hurt. And you're like everything you do,
It's like sunburn too. Like getting bad. I don't care if I get sunburn. It's just as long as it's not on my back and my shoulders.
Gotcha.
Because when you sleep, and you're rolling over and you have bad sunburn, horrible.
Use aloe vera gel for that for sure. I actually I have 23 species of the aloe vera or the aloe plant. So we recently had a campfire in the backyard, and Kristina burnt her hand pretty bad picking up a stick, and we put just raw aloe vera gel on it, and within 24 hours, like, it never even bubbled. It was half healed. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
You ever had Aloe King, the drink?
I've had aloe drink, but I don't know about that brand.
Ooh, my Crispy from Weird Science.
Yeah.
Shout out to my buddy Chris. Yeah, he turned me on to that, dude. That's good stuff, man.
Aloe, like, it's good topically. It's like good for your skin, but also it's really good for your digestive system as well.
Yeah.
And aloe, according to NASA, is one of the top 10 oxygen producing plants, I believe. So just having them in your home, it's a win-win.
Makes it easier to breathe.
Yeah.
If your woman takes your breath away, get aloe vera. There'll be more oxygen in the house for you to breathe.
Yeah, my grandma used to have the plant. So, I mean, you
just break off.
It's like natural Neosporin, basically.
Yep. That's it. Mm-hmm. It was pretty. I was amazed. Like, I had never actually seen it work like that before, but sure as shit, it did.
Mm-hmm. Back to film.
My
transition game is just fantastic.
Back to film.
So, when you shoot on film, I don't think a lot of people realize this, especially if you started with digital. What you see in the viewfinder does not tell you. It just tells you your framing. It doesn't tell you what the image is going to look like.
That is true because you're not actually looking through the optics of the glass.
Right.
You're looking through that viewfinder, so it is a little off. And interestingly enough, when you shoot like a twin lens reflex, like a Rolleiflex or like a Yashica matte, there's two lenses, and there's the taking lens and the viewing lens. So what you're looking at is different than the actual taking lens in that scenario as well. So it is always a little off. The perspective is a little different than what you shot at.
And and also you have to use a light meter, don't you?
Do
to dial in the settings.
Yeah.
You could be totally overexposed or totally underexposed.
Right, and I have an app on my phone that actually works pretty well.
Yeah.
It's called Lux, Lux. But it does a pretty good job. You just plug in, the values for what your film is, ISO 400, 100, whatever. Determine what you want your aperture to be or what you want your shutter speed to be, and it's going to give you a reasonable value. And the good thing with digitizing film is you have some leeway there for pushing or pulling the film a little so it's a little over or underexposed.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, which is what they would do the same thing in a dark room way back in the day. But
yeah. I think the one advantage to film, especially like motion picture film, is you can always rescan it.
Oh, yeah.
So you can watch, there's movies, like I Love Lucy movies from the 50s that are rescanned in 4K. And it's really
that's
trippy. Because you're watching and you're like, this was filmed, like all these people are long dead. And it looks like it was filmed yesterday.
Does like shutter speed come in, or I'm sorry, frames per second come into play there? Like, so.
They were probably doing the 24 frame per second.
Okay.
Thing, or the 29.976 or whatever it is.
So if you're scanning at that, then it's going to look normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Charlie Chaplin days. Like 12
something was up with the frame rate then.
Yeah.
They didn't quite have it down.
Well, and also, aren't some cameras were dependent on the speed that you actually cranked them, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you went faster, it would certainly go faster.
Right.
Yep.
So I couldn't imagine having to try and nail that, right?
Yeah.
And get the frame rate consistent
like
on
nice
something.
And steady. I don't think it was like that in the 50s, like during the golden age of movies. I think they had it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm thinking probably
not the 50s,
30s and 40s.
Like
even Wizard of Oz
was
Wizard of Oz was what, 39, and the frame rate looks pretty natural.
That's pretty crazy that was 1939.
Yeah,
because that movie stands up and it's like really well shot, and it's just.
It never actually. When it came out, it was kind of like a B movie, as far as I understand. Like it wasn't that popular until it went on TV and with color TV. Well, it turned color,
and it's Technicolor, right? So it wasn't filmed in color; it was colored later.
Is that the case?
I think
that's what Technicolor means.
I think so.
I know you couldn't view the color in it until it was on TV like years later.
Oh,
like
so
20 years later.
Originally it was displayed in just pure black and white.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, that's the beauty of film right there. Like, all right, a great example, Seinfeld. We'll just use Seinfeld as an example. It's my second Seinfeld reference on this one. Great show.
It is a great show.
That was filmed on film. It was shot on film.
Sure.
Another show, take Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't think that was shot on film. Same thing with Boy Meets World. So, fast forward to 2020. You can watch all of the Seinfeld episodes in 1080, and they could even rescan them into 4K. Because it's just film.
Right.
And I think when you watch Boy Meets World or you watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's still in 480p, and I think they actually shot that on video. Like video
VHS, like video, or
like I don't think they can't upscale it to 1080p.
Interesting.
Which film you just tell them like, hey, rescan it. And they're like, okay. They rescan it, and then whatever dimensions you want.
So film is actually high definition before its time, really. I mean,
yes. I mean,
and it still is.
Depending on the size of film. 8mm, 16mm. 16mm is beautiful.
And I'm sure the optics of your glass and what you shot it in. And all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
You got recommending to the audience this movie. It's called Apollo 11. Honestly, it's kind of boring.
Is that the horror one?
Are you thinking of Apollo 13?
No, I'm thinking of the one that was like aliens on the moon.
No.
Okay,
So
sorry.
back during the Apollo 11 mission where they went to the moon.
Okay.
If you believe that they went to the moon.
Do you believe?
Yes, I do believe they went to the moon.
I believe it.
I don't know how they could have when the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
There is no moon.
true.
It's not even there.
Yeah, it's a projection. No, but some people had the foresight. These people that were filming them do stuff had the foresight to film it on 65mm film.
Okay.
And I think they shoot on 65 and then they'll scan it to 70 when they project it.
So much bigger than.
Yeah, like most movies are 35mm film.
Right.
So they scanned it on that and then they just put it in a vault because the technology just really wasn't there to utilize that resolution. And then a company discovered came into possession of the film, and then they scanned it in like 8K. And then they put together this film of the whole mission. And it is incredible to watch because you're seeing Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, the whole mission control, all of that. And it is in like crisp 4K, and it looks like it was shot on like the Arri Alexa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
that footage is stunning.
Yeah, and it's from 1969. So when you watch it, it's trippy because you're so
Yeah.
used to seeing it look like crap because it was
Right.
shot in the 60s, but it looks like better than anything shot today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing footage.
Yeah, for
And
real.
they actually did train the astronauts back then in both stills and film. So they weren't just playing with cameras. They actually were classically trained in using them.
Yeah.
Which I found to be pretty interesting. That would be part of the curriculum of an astronaut's training.
Yeah.
NASA's going back to the moon in 2025, apparently.
NASA?
They announced it a few years ago. I don't know if COVID delayed it, but yeah, they said they're going back to the moon, and then they're going to use that as kind of like a hub to go to Mars. I'm excited when they go to Mars. That's going to be a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
NASA.
I was going to say NASA,
crap.
more like SpaceX.
Who's in the, let's call it now. You saw it here first. Probably not first, but you saw it here eventually. NASA or SpaceX, who's going to get to Mars first?
Oh, SpaceX for sure, 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah. When you just look at private industry versus, things that are monopolistically controlled, like let's just take the aviation industry, for example. If the aviation industry was only ever controlled by a government agency and you didn't have these people out here, the Lockheeds, the Boeings, developing these things, we wouldn't be nearly as far as we are now. So I think especially with space, companies have to be willing to take chances. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. And there's a lot of people out there, a lot of brilliant people that are willing to take those chances and those risks to be part of history. And I just think that when something is privatized like that, when there's actually monetary value involved, I think it's going to project things so much more forward.
Yep.
NASA's. So I used to work in the medical device industry, so I know a little about federal regulation, and NASA's really got their hands tied on a ton of stuff. And even when it comes to like electronic connections, they have redundancies of everything, right? So if any two connections die, you've got a third that's still operating. And private industries largely don't have to do that. So I'm a huge Elon Musk fan.
Right.
Love Tesla. Love SpaceX. I think we need more people like him that are actually like pushing the boundaries and actually like saying what more can we do, because we've just become too complacent or comfortable with what we know. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think having that competition would be really beneficial for that, because there's no push to...
Right.
That's the other thing with the free market, with the competition.
With no competition, I mean, you don't have to get better.
Exactly.
Just think about any interaction you have with a government entity. Let's talk about getting your driver's license or paying a ticket or whatever it may be. It's always inefficient. It's always long. It's always, lacking any kind of technical capabilities. It's always just a negative, experience.
It takes forever.
It takes forever, yeah. And that's because they don't have to get better. There's no competition. There's nobody going, you know what? I'm going to go down to the other driver's license down the street. They're a little faster or whatever. So with the free market, you're exactly right, is that competition drives improvement.
That's a really good point. I never really thought about that, especially with the space industry. It's interesting. We never we went to the moon, in 1969, and then
Yeah.
I think we stopped in 1970 or something, and then just never went back.
Well, that's because the motivation really was to beat the Soviets there.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as it was about space exploration and advancing the human race, I mean, the reality is we needed to beat the Soviets there because they had beat us in several ways prior to that. It was like the first human in space. It was obviously Sputnik, the first satellite. I think
Yep.
they were launching animals before anybody else, and we were way behind.
What do you think would happen if Russia, like Putin, announced that they're gonna, Russia's gonna go to Mars? Do you think that would speed up the process?
I do. I absolutely do. Yeah. It could be negative politically, maybe in today's environment, but I think that just anyone really announcing that they're trying to do the same, I think would speed it up.
Yeah. Well, I want NASA to know your media people and Vanity Studios are partnering to go to Mars.
That's right.
We're on it. You better hurry up, or we're going to beat you to it.
Well, so it was 69 when we landed on the moon, right?
Yeah.
So how long ago? We're talking
51 years.
Yeah. And we haven't done anything since. I mean,
When
when
the
was
space station
up
and
till
stuff, yeah.
up till like 70. We went to the moon a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah,
into
we went-
the mid 70s, but
No, I think it stopped like 71, 72, 73,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
early
But, yeah,
70s.
They
How
went for like
did-
4 years, and they were like, all right, did
Yeah.
that.
So when was the Wright brothers Kitty Hawk flights? I've actually been there. I should know this, but I don't.
I think it was 1901, wasn't it?
Okay.
I'm not for sure. I feel like I'm spitting out a lot of facts here, and people are probably going to research it. And be
I
like,
was
"You're an
just
idiot."
thinking about that. Yeah, we don't do much
People in the-
research
in the
before we say
comments,
this
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
like-
yeah. The people in the comments will let us know how much of our stuff was actually accurate.
That's all right. It's all right.
The fun fact, the New York Times published an article. So obviously there was the free market. A lot of people were trying to make flying machines back then, and failure after failure, people were dying and all this. And the New York Times went to one of these fiascos, as they put it, and people were dying. And it was they thought it was just a novelty, that it would never take off. They published an article saying that man will make a flying machine, but it'll take another like 1,000,000 years to do it,
10,000 years
or something like that. And then the next year they flew a Kitty Hawk.
Yeah, right.
And then like 50 years later, we have airplanes all around the world, and we're going to the moon. And
Well, sometimes you just need someone to challenge you, right?
Right.
You can't do that. Oh, we're gonna do it.
that's such a motivator. That's such a motivator.
You ever been to the Greenfield Village up in?
Yes.
The Wright Brother bicycle shop is actually still there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really
Correct.
cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to Solder Village?
As a child, but never as an adult.
Dude, go back.
Yes.
It's really fun, man.
I'd love to.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'll have to check that out.
I love how they have the reenactors, and you come into the
Yeah.
old thing, and they're like, "Yeah, you need some flannel. Put some flannel in your drink; it'll cure what ails you."
Oh no, but why I was asking about the Kitty Hawk thing is, so let's say it was 1903, in 60, 70 years we went from understanding how air moves over a wing to landing on the moon, and now 50 years forward to that, what have we really done? I mean,
Yeah.
not much. I mean, sure, there's been innovations in jet engines and things like that, but when it comes to like really leaps forward, I don't think we've done nearly as much in that amount of time.
I completely agree. I think the main problem with it is getting to the moon. In my opinion, landing on the moon. I've actually talked to my dad about this. That is like the most impressive thing like humans have ever done.
Right.
Is like a stunt. Like, hold my beer. Watch this. Like, go to the moon, come back.
At least in written human history. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To go to Mars is so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's so much further. A lot of people, Mars, I think, is 12 light minutes away. So in other words, if you have a remote control, if you have a rover on Mars, there we go, couldn't find the word. If you have a rover on Mars and you hit the button, like you have a joystick and hit it, go 12 minutes, 12 minutes until it catches the signal.
Yikes.
Right, and it's I think it's 100 million miles. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think it's anywhere from like 30 million to 150 million or something. There's a pretty big range depending on where it is in the orbit. But yeah.
So that technology is way greater than the moon, and then what's next after that will probably take hundreds of years.
Right.
To get to Saturn's moon or whatever, that would be the next thing.
So how long do you know would it take just
9 months.
9 months.
9 months?
something like
If they
that,
take
yeah.
off, it'll take 9 months till they get there.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I 12 minutes, like, oh shit, there's a clip.
Yeah, you don't think about that. You don't think about that at all. But yeah, it's 12 light minutes. So
Interesting.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we're destroying this planet enough that I think that it's imperative that we find some other place to inhabit and maybe learn our lessons a little.
For sure. Neil deGrasse Tyson had a really good quote, though, that I completely agree with. He's like, if we can develop the technology to terraform Mars into another Earth,
we can clean our own planet.
Right.
For
Probably
sure.
easier.
Exactly.
Well, and the sad thing is the technology's already there. It already exists. There's all kinds of green energy. It's just that, politics and lobbyists and the oil industry and all of that. So
yeah, hopefully, because we probably, I don't know if you have much faith in the human race. I actually do.
I do.
think, yeah,
I think.
But yeah, with the hopefully there's at some point technology that can pull carbon out of the atmosphere. Right. Because then we can still burn all our fossil fuels.
But we'll run out eventually, though.
Yeah,
There's only so much.
Yeah.
But.
Dude, the electronics that we have these days now is crazy. Like that electric skateboard, I charge it up, takes like 2 hours and go 11 miles. Now I get, a lot of people, the batteries in it are terrible. You're probably right, but I don't know. It's pretty crazy that, about 10 years ago, if you told me that, I'd be like, no way, get out of here. So.
And I actually recently just built a solar generator. So it's a self-contained unit, and I got a 100-watt panel, and I'm able to just use the sun to generate enough electricity to charge it's actually a 12-volt lead-acid battery. But then I can charge all my other devices from it, no problem. Especially with 12-volt, you can run it to USB super easy. So just doing that and building it and going, shit, this is easy. It's like, why aren't we doing this? But that's, you talk about your skateboard. I've always wanted to build a scooter that has panels on it that just powers itself as you go. Obviously with a battery pack as well. But
yeah, I've thought about it. Cars, like the wheels moving. There's energy that's being lost there, and I feel like you could definitely. There's a way for. And they're probably doing it again. I don't know, but they capture the lost energy from the wheels spinning and use that to power a battery.
Right, and that's the real problem with green energy is the battery. So the struggle now is that's fine. We can generate electricity when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, but how do you store that?
Sure.
And so, there's some really creative ways out there. People are trying to figure out ways to store, and that could be as easy as running water upstream in the day and then letting it down at night and then turn turbines and actually regenerate the electricity. So I actually watched a documentary about this recently, but there's so many cool technologies out there that people are really trying to work on to make storing power really more effective. Because that's the problem. It's the battery.
For sure.
I think we solved all the planet's problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what three dudes sitting at a table can accomplish. Brilliant.
This is fun, guys. Thanks again for having me in. It's
we're glad to have you. I was saying when we met you, I was like, sometimes just meet people and you just click immediately.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Yeah, for sure.
I was like, I'd go get a beer with him. I want to get a beer with everyone. I don't even drink beer, but
we should totally get a beer. We should go down to 6/5 sometime and get a beer. Here at the Country Charm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, everyone just needs to come down to the Country Charm. It's just a great place, great community.
It is. Like I've only been in Perrysburg for 4 years now. Next month, and what an awesome community. And we really came out here because I really wanted to get the kids into school here. Previously, we were in the south end of Toledo, which meant they would have had to gone to Bowser, which is actually where I went. It's not the same Bowser. They tore Bowser down and built a new one.
Right, yeah.
So we really moved out here for the school system, and then kind of made the decision to – actually, we started Vanity Studios when we were still in Toledo, but it's just made everything so much more accessible and more community-based here. We just love Perrysburg.
Yeah, good town.
Yeah.
Good town.
I mean, the video that you guys made, oh my God, that's so cool.
Every single podcast we've had so far,
someone
brings up the Perrysburg video.
Dude, like, it was informative, it was inspiring, but there was like an energy behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I got like tingles. I was like, man, I'm part of this community too. I might be a transplant, I didn't grow up out here, but it made me proud to be out here. And it was just like, I was just blown away that that was produced by you guys locally here. I mean, it looked like a very large budget, big thing.
we shot that. I'll give you we shot that in 4 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was 4 days from like the original idea. So we had a friend who owns a business, and we were talking about ideas, and he was like, "You should just fly your drone around Perrysburg, put that up on the Perrysburg group." I was like, "Oh, that's an idea." So then I'm driving around. I'm like, "Dude, I've lived here my whole life. We could make a really good video about Perrysburg." So then I like made a list. It's like Fort Meigs, the high school, the football field,
downtown.
Downtown, And then I just wrote the script really quick, and then I was like, all right, I'll say when it starts here, we'll be at Fort Meigs. When we're talking about the schools, we'll be obviously at a school, Levis Commons.
Yeah.
And then we just like had our locations, had exactly what I was going to say, because I like recorded it over the music, so I knew exactly like how the timing was going to go. And then him and I just ran around like madmen for 2 years, or for 4 days. Jesus Christ. Him and I ran around for 4 days. And just went to all the locations and filmed it.
Did you shoot that on the Red?
No, I was shot on the Sony.
Sonys?
Yep.
And it was all ADR, so like the audio was dubbed in.
And that was the thing that really like got my attention, is like it was beautifully shot and everything was great, but the audio, it was like so crisp and clear, and it was sort of like it's matching his mouth, so how'd
they get that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then you put that video out about the ADR, and I was like, okay, yeah. And I think that's something that's really made your work stand out. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that your work stands out, but the audio is so crisp and different and direct, and it's very professional.
Oh, we appreciate that. That's how we started. But I think when we met before, I had said that I kind of like invented ADR in my head. I was like, couldn't you just take our scratch recording and put it in software and like loop it? So, this is our city. This is our city. Plays like that. And then you just go on your mic and say it over top of it on a good mic, and then, delete the original one, put that in place. So I did that on that, and it worked. And then I like
then
realized,
you found out it was a thing.
I was like, oh, that's a thing that they do all the time.
Well, I think that you guys have that audio, that musical background, and that you're just really bringing that strength into that art, and it's like so cool.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
thanks,
that's
man.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his art.
Let's talk about your
portraits
art.
you do, man. These portraits you do. Let me tell you. Check out his portraits.
Thanks, man.
I wouldn't have you on if I didn't think you did beautiful, absolutely beautiful portraits.
Yeah. So going back to the club photography stuff, you're shooting people's faces, and no two faces are the same, and the way lighting hits faces is different. And someone with a bigger nose versus a smaller nose, you might have more of a Rembrandt triangle coming across, or whatever it is. And so working in that kind of club life and using the different lighting environments, I really got a respect or appreciation for like shooting portraits. Now, granted, it wasn't great portraiture work, but it made me really kind of connect with photography from that aspect. And I think what's really cool with photography is that you're actually just capturing a moment in time, right? You're capturing it, you're freezing it, and it's there preserved for forever. And there's something just inherently interesting about that. Yeah. The way I look right now is not the way I'm going to look 2 years from now. And as we age and our faces and everything starts to change, it's just it's interesting to really capture people, who they are then and there, because it changes. I mean, It changes as we get older, and as life wears on us a little bit, and we get some more miles under our belt. But
it's a moment in time,
right?
Snapshotting.
Yeah.
So, when Kristina approached me to start shooting makeup, and we were just kind of shooting in the dining room and having fun, and maybe having a few drinks late at night, and just kind of doing the whole creative thing, I really started to love playing with light and rim lighting and 3-point lighting and hair lighting, and what happens if I do this, and what does this kind of modifier do? And so that just kind of evolved into, well, we should probably start a business doing this. I mean, she loves doing makeup, and she's really amazing at what she does, and I loved doing photography, and I'm always trying to learn new things. So it was just a perfect match for us when we started it. So that's really what we try and focus on now. Really, I push the business forward is really capturing people. So whether that's environmental portraits or corporate headshots or families or seniors, to me, like, people are a really just dynamic, different thing to capture. And like I said, it's never the same.
I think starting with the I guess not fully candid, but pretty candid photos probably served you really well. Because when we used to recording on that old thing, it sucked at the time, but you have to make the best out of that. So then when you're transplanted into a new situation where you have either better recording software or you have better lighting or you have your time to get it really good, that experience of maybe either being in a rush or having less than stellar resources benefits you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Because you're building your art with what you have, and then as you acquire more of those tools, you really fine-tune that art.
Yeah. If my kid wants to do filmmaking, I'm going to be like, here's a Canon Rebel, 720p, go out and make something, and if it's good, I'll let you use a Sony.
Right.
I'm just letting you use an ARRI or a RED. Like, no, you're going to have to work up to that.
Cameron, he's 14, and we went to the 577 Foundation out here in Perrysburg not long ago, and I was shooting film. I had a Canon 81, and I gave him my main shooter, which is a Canon 60 Mark II, and so I'm like, dude, don't drop this, Right. and I thought about it. It was like the first time I ever really gave him just the main camera, and he actually walked around and got some amazing shots. Got a really cool picture of me that I was really impressed with. So, yeah.
What size is the film?
Do
you know? Is there like a millimeter on it or something?
Well, what film?
Like when you shoot on film.
So the only two formats I've shot in, and these are really the only formats that are readily available. I mean, there's plenty more that you can get, but like our neighbor down here at Cone actually stocks these, so I usually just go down there and get them. But 35 millimeter and 120, which is a medium format, and so it's going to be a larger print, and you're going to get. It's a paper-backed film, so like on a twin lens reflex, like a Rolleiflex or a Rolleiflex, you're going to get about 12 exposures out of that.
120 millimeter?
No, 120 is not in. I believe it's with 35 millimeter. It is based off of that size, right? But there's 120 and 220 and some other films that aren't necessarily based off of the size. I know. I thought that
I was going to say that's like really high fidelity.
Yeah,
it's going to look great.
And they are much larger prints, and a lot of them are more in a square format. And actually what really got me into those was, are you guys familiar with Dirty Kicks, James Dickerson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, he's a local street photographer here, and he uses a Rolleiflex, and he just produces just amazing work. He just captures people in just ways that I've not seen anybody else locally do. So shout out James. I love your work. You've been a huge inspiration to me.
That's good that you recognize that.
Oh,
some
for
people
sure.
don't like it. They hide their heroes. And
dude, like,
it's good, but it's not that good.
Like, none of us have come up with this on our own, right? Like, we're all building off of something else, and
That's for
somebody
sure.
actually is inspiring us to do it. And like, for me, I feel it's hugely important. Like, even with a famous photographer, if they'll put something out and I'm inspired by that, and we kind of do our own spin, I'm going to give them credit because they inspired me. I'm not going to be like, no, this is mine,
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that inspiration, there's a quote that his dad always says, and I think it's great. He always says, good artists borrow, great artists steal. And, there's times where we have an idea and it's like a blatant ripoff when it starts.
Yeah.
But then by the time that you get to the end, it's like you can kind of see a resemblance, but not really.
It's your own thing.
It's your own thing.
Yeah. So you use that as inspiration, a creative inspiration to create something else. And like, that's art, and that's been that way since cave paintings, really, right? I mean, you're seeing someone else do something, you're inspired by it, and you're like, I want to do that, or I want to do it better, or I want to do it differently.
Well, that's how everything, and I guess art, people think of that as like you shouldn't, they look at it as like plagiarizing in a way. They could look at it like that, but then when you think about some guy invented the transistor, which allowed for like radios, which allowed for television, which allowed for computers, and it's like you're just building off of. You could look at that as plagiarizing. True. But all you're doing is building off of it and leveling it up.
Right. Who's your favorite living artist?
Like any art form?
Yeah. Well, visual art.
That's tough. I'm pretty uncultured.
Yeah.
Your dad would probably say Norman Rockwell. Your dad loves Norman Rockwell.
Is he still alive?
I don't think he's still
living.
He's like the Saturday Evening Post guy, right? Norman Rockwell.
I couldn't even tell you like a living like artist. Bill Hinch is my favorite living artist.
Yeah.
He's taught me a lot.
Banksy is mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar you are with his
Graffiti.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Street art.
Street art.
Yeah, it's so there's some really cool documentaries out there, but really, and again, it's the evolution of it. Is it started as graffiti, and then it evolved into more of this, I guess, stencil-based art form that was more political. So it wasn't putting your tag up so much anymore. It's really trying to make people think and drive a message there. And I just love his approach to art and how he constantly thumbs his nose at the art world. Like, are you familiar with the piece that shredded itself? So he had one of his famous prints is a girl with a balloon, and it was in a frame, and it was at some prestigious art auction. And as soon as the gavel came down and it sold, somebody in the audience hit a button, and the thing shredded itself.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, but it actually it stopped midway. Like it was supposed to shred itself completely, but it didn't. So it like stopped midway. And the crazy thing is it actually drove the price of the thing up with him trying to destroy it and trying to really send a message that like art is not to be bought and sold. It's for people. It's for people to enjoy. It's for people to find inspiration in. And I love that message.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool that's...
Art shouldn't be something that you buy up and put on your wall so that you can, entertain guests with it or whatever. It's someone created that to be seen. And so like art really belongs to the people.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do we actually know who Banksy is, or is he anonymous?
No, I think he's still pretty anonymous. Yeah. I mean, there's some leading theories out there, but he's actually he created his own documentary. It's called Exit Through the Gift Shop, and that was a really interesting dynamic because he kind of took this non-talent artist and turned him into this big, big draw selling point, and he's just thumbing his nose at the art world. Like, we created this, and I love his work.
Yeah, the greatest artists always push the boundaries.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk Halloween. That's the one thing.
Yes.
That's the one thing Josh came here to plug. Let's get on it. What are you doing on Halloween?
Let's talk about Halloween. So last night, actually, we shot our first zombie. Got a little bloody in the studio and hung up some chains in the background and did some cool stuff with the lighting. But we actually had two models in, Kristina and another makeup artist, and she did a rendition of a sugar skull. So we shot those. So, people, I would say that what we're most known for is probably those Halloween portraits. And a lot of times those are clients that are just coming in to have makeup done before they go to a party or something, and we make sure we photograph them. But we also bring models in this time of year and start creating stuff to just to start creating some hype a little for Halloween. So it's our favorite time of year. We just love, like, our motto at Vanity Studios is, who do you want to be today? Right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So with makeup photography, we're really talking about who do you can be different people and you can wear different hats, and it's really about what you want to be that day. And we're with Halloween, and immensely why I think Halloween is so popular. I want to say it's is it the biggest grossing holiday, even more than Christmas now? I think more people
I would be shocked
spend
if that
more
was
money
the truth.
on.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Another bad stat from me.
Yeah, there we go. Disregard everything we said.
No, but people love Halloween so much because it's an opportunity or a chance to be someone or something else, right? To put on that mask, to play a character. And, we all want to just step out of our own skin every now and then just to try something or be someone different,
Yeah, for sure. I like it more than Christmas.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Oh, I don't. I'm not a huge Halloween guy.
I love Halloween.
I'm not a big Christmas guy. So.
Yeah. I'm a Thanksgiving guy. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I like to eat. I don't get presents anymore,
That might be the best
Even
one.
Thanksgiving's pretty boring. I mean, like, Christmas is so boring. You just sit there all day, like, no one can hang out. And, like, no one. I just come in and work. I'll be editing on Christmas.
I like the 4th of July and Halloween.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think I agree. Yeah.
No, I like Halloween. I do.
Well, what's weird is, like, I love Halloween, but I don't like horror movies. I'm not a big gore guy.
I like thrillers, but not so much horror movies.
I really subscribe to the Hitchcock philosophy that it's what you don't see.
Yeah, for sure. Leave it up to your imagination.
That's right. Nothing is more scary than your own imagination because you'll hype it up.
Yeah.
And so I really like the way that Hitchcock kind of crafted stories around that. And it's like, we're all waiting to see the monster, but you never really do.
You ever seen the remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn?
I'm not.
That was actually
Does he
pretty
play
good.
Norman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of our approach to B-roll. So we're doing these docs about people in Toledo, and there's a lot of stories, and there might be a story about someone who's in the hospital, and it's like when I'm sitting there thinking of B-roll to show at that point. Level 1 is just like, let's just show the person in the hospital. But then I try to think, what can we show that isn't what's being said, but still feels really good? Because when you're showing something, it takes the imagination out of it.
Right.
And in some ways is less powerful.
That's true. Because you're saying, look at this. Like, you're directing it.
This is what it looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of tiptoeing around that, and letting that viewer just kind of make those connections themselves, that's pretty cool.
Same reason I think people a lot of times like the book better than the movie.
Yeah.
Because they've made their own movie in their head.
That's right.
And then the movie comes out, they're like, that's not how I pictured that.
Plus, like, you have that sense of internal reflection a lot with books, right? Like, you know what that character is thinking.
Oh, there's a lot more detail.
Right. And how do you do that in film? I mean, you do it with a narrator would be your best bet, but like sometimes that can be a little jarring and take you out of the environment.
Television shows.
Yeah.
I almost think like TV is a higher medium. It's become a higher medium. Like television is produced at such a high level. It's just as good as film in a lot of times, in my opinion. But the advantage of film, I'll take Breaking Bad for an example. I don't know if you ever watched Breaking Bad.
I watched. There's 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
We watched 1 through 5, and somehow managed to never watch the 6th season. So
there's 5. The 5th season's split into 2. It's kind of stupid.
Okay.
Anyways, Breaking Bad's basically like a 60-hour movie.
Okay.
So, but at the end, when shit starts hitting the fan, you're with those characters so long, and that payoff is so much greater than you could ever get in television or in film.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's all about that character development. And in fact, I know Marvel gets a bad rap all the time for not really fleshing out their villains. And it's like, it's because you got 2.5 hours at most to really flesh this person out. And can you really show someone's intentions and their priorities and what their true intentions are in 2 hours? Probably not.
Well, they did with Joker. Joker was phenomenal.
Dude,
I thought that was the best comic book movie ever, in my opinion.
Right. Todd Phillips, right, is director of that one.
He did the G.G. Allen documentary. Did you know that?
I've not seen the G.G. Allen documentary.
You know G.G. Allen?
I do, yeah.
Watch Hated. It is like, it's wild. Okay. But that was his first thing he directed, and then he did The Hangover, and then he did Joker.
Okay.
I'm sure he did
very different stuff.
Yeah.
Very different.
Good at all of them, yeah.
But like Joker was like, it was not a comic book movie, you know what I mean? It was like,
that's why I love it.
Yeah. Like they did it within the confines of this character who originated in the comic world, but the way that they approached it, it was so fresh and like gritty and raw and like man on the street level, and I really loved it. And there was some really cool like Dutch angles and things that he had done in there, and the Joker rising and the blood smile.
Oh my god!
I know, right?
One of the best scenes in cinema, honestly, in my opinion.
Like, you're going into this knowing that the Joker is a villain, right?
Right.
You're going into this like, oh, this is one of the most famous villains in modern, I guess, comic book history. But you feel for him the entire time. Like, you're pulling for this character. And even at the end, when he's like rising up and all this, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not. There's really no good guy in the film at all.
That's true. Yeah, Bruce, like Thomas Wayne's like a dick the whole time.
Is there a protagonist at all?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is the protagonist.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's so much more relatable. Like, and I know a lot of people love Marvel, and if you love Marvel, that's totally fine. I'm not a fan of those movies personally.
Right.
I can't relate to a bunch of dudes in spandex running rooftop to rooftop. Yeah. It's.
Why comics I think are cool to me at least is the way it was described once is that it's modern day mythology. It's Greek heroes and goddesses, just told in a different setting.
I could see that, yeah.
When you really go back and look at it, you're like, so there's all these superhuman beings that did all these different things that people kind of looked up to, and comic books, it's the same stories, it's the same lessons, it's the same instinctively how to be human, but just told in a more modern format.
I never looked at it like that, but that is very true for sure. Anything else you want to say? We should probably wrap this up. It's getting a little lengthy, but it's good. I'll probably talk to this guy for another 2 hours after we shut off the cameras.
We might have to do a beer after this, right? Yeah. That's a little early, I suppose.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It is. It's 1:28 here. So.
Oh my God, we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So if you go into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, it's probably like 5 o'clock there. You know.
Oh yeah.
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 You know, it's ahead. It's a couple hours ahead.
I mean, I could probably look at it on a GPS right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's as good as being there, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna crack open some brewskis and chill out.
We got to go there though, so we don't feel like an alcoholic.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. So my only real plug is, check us out. Look at our social media. Take a look at the website. We're going to have, like I said, a lot of Halloween portraits coming out here soon, and that's really kind of our bread and butter, what we love to do. And we'll try and do it bigger and better every year. This year, 2020, we don't know what Halloween's going to look like. Is the zombie crawl going to go on? Are there going to be these big Halloween parties? Are kids even going to go trick-or-treating on Halloween?
Right.
We don't know. So, to hell with it. We're gonna push through with Halloween one way or another.
I'm guessing it's just going to depend on city, right?
Probably.
Well, I think it's going to boil down to the city cancels it, then it won't happen. But if they leave it up to the discretion of the parents, it'll be up to the parents.
Sure.
Some kids will be trick-or-treating and other kids will not.
There's a big Halloween thing here in downtown Perrysburg, right, that they do?
I'm not sure.
This is year 3.
Maybe.
So I wonder if that's going to happen. Don't know if the zombie crawl is going to happen.
Damn it, COVID.
I know.
Yeah, we're tired of you, COVID. I think we're going to wrap it up.
Cool.
All right. This has been Your Media Pod. Don't interrupt my intro or outro.
I didn't say anything.
This has been Your Media Podcast. We'll see you on the next one.